Hello. Bl'Artagnan here with Oath Within My Breast, the Beatrix intersecting wills Shinryu fight. Speaking of Beatrix, here she is making a quick cameo in order to break the enemy out of order, since otherwise Gladio's all AoE. Before we get too deep into it, be sure to hit the like button on that video and slam that subscribe button if you enjoy the content and want to see more stuff like it. If you want to see more X-Death content, because that's what we got here, X-Death content. My goodness, in a fight in which he actually has use and purpose and isn't just filler character. Incredible, absurd, absolutely astounding. But hey, it's true. If there's one thing X-Death does better than most any character in the game, it's deal with shields, and so he's going to be dealing with those shields quite handily. Helping him is Lewd and Gladio, which is kind of a weird combination. But I needed something to account for X-Death's biggest weakness, I would say, which is that he just doesn't really synergize with any FRs that, in a meaningful way. Sure, I could have used Hope if I had Hope. Could have used Iroha if I wanted to use Iroha. Or Ursula, Jesus, God no. So we're going to use Lewd here. I almost used Lillicet and then realized, critical damage, never mind. Sigh, but it's okay. We do have to do some goofy jiggery pokery, though, in order to make this work. And I'll kind of be explaining my thought process as we go. Because you saw we already busted out the Beatrix and Ketchi base calls. We will not be using the Beatrix LD call, even though the debuff that it applies is, of course, a nice one now. The reason is we don't want to dispel that speed buff that they give themselves, as you see there. They reapply it, but why bother dispelling it and having to worry about having them put it back on? The only reason Beatrix is here, actually, is because I wanted a framed buff, and I figured Noble Loyalty is probably the best framed buff we could get. It has a little attack up, which X-Death likes, some defense, why the heck not? I just needed something, alongside the Ketchi one, which is actually going to get used during the Force time. Why did I want that? It's part of a secret tech plan that we're using here. We have a lot of doofy, complicated stuff happening here. Because we have... Lewd is, like I said, the only FR that I had that could work with X-Death, in a practical sense. Sure, I could use, Sid Reigns or Charlotta or something and have them carry the fight, but that's not the point of what we're trying to do here, right? So we bring Gladio, who synergizes with, he has the stacking buff, and we bring the Rydia call for X-Death, giving him a stacked buff. The thing is, we did not want Gladio to get that Rydia call buff, because then he'd be dodging and he wouldn't be countering. And you might say, Blart, why don't you just use Galuf, a tank who doesn't care if he's dodging, he's supposed to dodge. Well, obviously, he would chew through the Rydia buff, and he doesn't have any native stack buff. So that's the thought process there. So that's why we're bringing Gladio and giving him the ribbon to prevent us from buffing him. Another thing we're not doing, you'll notice, is we will not be touching Almagest at any point during this fight, which is a crazy thing, I know. Again, the reason for this is similar to the Beatrix LD thing. We don't want to apply the speed down that Curse applies. Curse has a pretty potent speed down attached to it. And the entire plan here is we're just going to be going Gladio counters and X-Death womps. And that's the entire plan. And so for Gladio counters, since they can't hurt us at all, might as well let them get as much speed as they can, and that means not debuffing their speed with Curse. It does mean X-Death's damage suffers a bit, but it's okay. Once we go into the Force time, you don't have to worry about him pressing his skill 1 or anything like that. He has plenty of buttons that he can press to keep himself entertained during the Force time. Speaking of which, and I gotta say, big fan of how the music times out here. Gonna go ahead and get that Ketchi effect. If you didn't know, this helps chew through the HP shield a little bit. Here we go. There we go, revving it up. So Ketchi is going to give us a little bit of extra oomph to get through the shield, so we can just move on to the next thing. I guess I could have used... I always feel bad using debuff calls when you're doing an off-turn counter team, because they're just going to fall off at some point. Especially if it's something like Seymour where it delays, or it's just a whole thing. But anywho, the important thing now is the enemy's super fast from that speed buff, and the fact that we didn't Almagest them, or put Kurasame on them or something goofy. We have a nice slow character in X-Death who will go once every 3 years or so. And he's just going to sit there with his big old BT effect, giving us the HP cap up, giving us the HP poison, which ignores their shields. So we're actually still damaging them just a little bit at this point. It's not super meaningful, but I see there it went down a percent point. It all adds up. if every round for the rest of this fight that's going off, that's going to be, you know, a couple million damage at least that we get for free when the shields are otherwise negating the damage. So, you know, it's bonus value, I guess. It also makes the video take a hell of a lot longer, so that's something. That I can explain. That was a straight-up misclick. I meant to use LD and press the skill 1, just brain fart, hit the wrong button, and, well, oops, there we are. But anywho, yeah, at this point, it's pretty academic. The hope here is that we're going to counter/womp them to death within the force time. In theory, I guess we could go to the second force time if we need to. It'll take a while to charge up, and that's a whole problem. But the big X-Death LD, you love to see it. I realized I went through the entire burst phase without doing any of the sound effects. That's tragic. Oh well, can't be helped. There we go, the actual lewd LD I meant to press. Now look at this. Sweet, we had 4 turns back to back to back on the... We got 4 turns left on the FR, so it's enough time that we should probably be able to boost it quite a bit before we hit that summon button, which of course we'll be doing. And other than that, it's just cozy, because counter tanks, man. It's all about those counter tanks. And Gladio, still ridiculous unit. Womp 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 womp. Actually, something you might have noticed, or you'll notice at the end of it, I guess, is when you'll probably notice. I've returned to my my double greatsword ways since Beatrix is here, and she works really well with counter tanks, all of whom use greatsword. I figured, you know what? It's time. We're going back to the double greatsword. So we've refunded, and we're all in on greatsword now, mostly. Now, here we go. Since we have 3 turns left, we're gonna go in the XF BT finisher. There we go. And that is the end of that shield, I think. I actually don't know. The shield might still be there. I hope it isn't. But we're going to go ahead and get ready for our final turn. Before we do that, though, they're going to hit us with that leaf swirl. Luckily, the shields are gone, so we're going to go ahead and counter. 700% on the FR gauge. So we're doing just fine here. There we go. Another fire has started. You hate to see it, but it's okay. And I think things are going to get a little bit awkward for me here, just because it would have been nice if Xeth was the last one to go, obviously, but what are you going to do? I guess we'll just have Lewd, who's probably the weakest pick of the guys who could be going, because he has like the weakest ultimate weapon and just the weakest attacks. But it's okay. He's the one who made this possible, right? That dumb Ridiacol tech. Went ahead and did 0 damage with the summon, which really sucked. But it's okay. We can go ahead and launch into the sky. And that really... 10% left. That's actually going to take a while, isn't it? Isn't it? You'd think it would take a while. Luckily, I believe in us. Do you believe in us? I believe in us. I think we can do it. As I mentioned, every time anyone takes a turn, we're getting 250,000 damage from X-Death. So every 4 turns, that's 1 million damage. That adds up. That adds up right there. Not to mention the HP cap up it gives us, alongside the 2 blue armors, 2 support blues from Gladio and Lewd. You see, it's all kind of... We're making it work. That last 10%, we're going to make this happen. Elemental lockouts be damned. Look at this. The battery is too much. Too much. They're probably going to end up getting the force time, but it's okay. We can even shave their brave in the elemental lockouts, because Xeth is awesome. The laws of the universe mean nothing. It's such a badass thing to say as you're hitting someone, right? But that's the story, kid, as my grandfather used to say. That's the story, kid. Refreshing the skill 2 buff, doing a cool 1 million damage between the 2 of them. And that's gonna do it for these guys, ain't it? Yeah, no, they're about to take it. 1%. And here we go. Gladio, take us home. 1, 2, 3, and... That didn't do it. Well, that's awkward. Okay, fine. Maybe this'll do it. Bam! There we go. Okay, well, kind of an awkward ending there, but it's okay. Man, X-Death, feels good to use him here. Whew, that felt good. Goofy team. Stupid Ridiacol thing. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. Adios.